Demanding change and taking action. Honestly, this video says everything, paints the picture perfectly. Some Metro Atlanta students, young students, walked out of their schools today and straight to the Capitol.
This is all in a push for stricter gun laws following the Apalachee High School shooting 2 weeks ago. Sarah Hammond met those students there. So Sarah, what did they have to say?
So there were about 30 students and 14 chaperones from the Morgan Oliver School making their voices heard at the Capitol today, and their march here coincides with a Senate subcommittee hearing that's happening right now about safe gun storage laws. A group of 30 Atlanta students walked out of class and into the state capitol Thursday morning. Their goal, asking their lawmakers for stricter gun laws in Georgia.
We keep asking the adults to do something about this. They can hear us, but they will not listen.
This group of elementary and middle schoolers from the Morgan Oliver School gathered before lawmakers just 2 weeks after the deadly Apalachee High School shooting that left 4 people dead. 14-year-old Colt Gray and his father, Colin Gray, are both facing multiple charges.
Nobody should have ever died, and nobody should have ever got a gun for a kid. He was only 14.
Their march today coincides with a bipartisan Senate subcommittee meeting to discuss possible safe gun storage laws. Lawmakers had their second meeting on the topic the day after the Apalachee High School shooting. Democratic Senator Emanuel Jones chairs that committee and says he is impressed by these young voices.
We need this kind of energy and excitement so that those of us that work in this building we can hear their voices.
Jared Humphreys with the school says after an age-appropriate discussion about what happened in Barrow County, the kids came up with an action plan all on their own.
What we hope happens is that these lawmakers take the concerns of these kids seriously.
And that Senate hearing is still going on upstairs, and those kids are going to get the chance to speak before lawmakers. Live at the state capitol, Sarah Hammond for Atlanta News First.